Welcome back to Reusable Space Program. So this is episode 14, and as you can see, we have a mission to go to the moon. Let's do it. So we have a mission to go to the moon. However, our craft in orbit needs some fuel, so first of all we're going to fill it up with a little bit of fuel. This is a modification of our friendship craft that we've used before, but instead of being a friendship craft, it has no space for Kerbals. It's a bit like the Progress craft versus the Soyuz craft. It's the same shape, it's roughly the same capability, but it's packed full of stuff and you wouldn't put a Kerbal in it. So you can see that the nose there is actually just a fuel tank. So we're going to send some fuel up there because we want to send some fuel to carry out this mission. And you can see the docking process was pretty easy. Rendezvous was nice enough. We just rattled through it. In fact, I'm going to try and cut out a lot of the excess in this series that we're starting to get, because particularly as the missions get bigger, we're going to have a lot of rendezvous and dockings, and I will show you bits of them, but I won't show you every single launch all the way through, and I'm not going to show you every single return all the way through. If you want to see that, please tell me. I'll put together like a long cut and put it somewhere, and you can watch to your heart's content the hours of work that goes into every episode, but I'm going to keep this sort of cut down. So here we go, we're going to use our robotic craft. This is our fully robotic refueling craft. It's not particularly effective as a refueling craft because it's actually not got much fuel on it, but we just needed to top up this craft. So there you go, we unloaded the fuel. I don't need to show you that, and then we just deorbit, and its deorbiting is quite easy actually. It's going to use its RCS to take it most of the way down as much as it can, because RCS is basically, we've got a lot of it in orbit right now. It's going to come through the atmosphere, do all of its stuff, and it's a standard return. You've seen this craft do this many times. I've just told you I'm not going to show you these things, but yet I'm showing you it because that's what's happening. I suppose I should show you it when something interesting happens, or when I want you to think there's something interesting about to happen, but there isn't actually anything interesting to happen. So yeah, we come down. I think this is the desert we're landing in. I don't think we've landed in the desert before. So, it's quite annoying that we don't have a Kerbal on board, because I could have done some science. But anyway, off we go. So we're going to launch a craft to go to the moon with to be added to our little transport craft that's up there. This is going to be the moon bus. It's going to be designed. Oh, look at the atmosphere. Ugh. This is obviously why Kerbals on this planet have stopped flying rockets, because they've poisoned it horrendously. Look at that smog. I'm so glad that our rocket fuel is developed entirely from plants. I think most fuel's directly from plants in a roundabout way. But anyway, or dead animals. Anyway, let's get back to the point. Terrible atmosphere. We need to find somewhere else to live. So this is our X5 again. I think it's the X5B that we're on, or the X5C. I'm not entirely sure. We've modified it a little bit, just refined it. The good thing about this craft is what we can actually do is just shorten or lengthen the payload bay in the middle there, and it can pretty much do everything. And you can see there the moon bus that we're calling it. It's a slightly bigger landing craft than what we sent to Minmus, and that's because number one, the moon is a little bit more of a beast, and number two, this is probably going to stay around the moon. It's got enough fuel to do a trip down, a trip back up. It can carry two people. It can act as a bit of a taxi service if need be. It does have a probe core on it. It has, and this is the interesting bit about it, it has docking ports at both ends, so it can actually perform a role as space station. It could, or part of a space station. It could perform a role as part of a multi sort of landing system. It's got a lot of sort of functionality and use that we can actually make of it. So that's quite nice. So anyway, we send it up into a little standard orbit, and we're actually going to dock it with Nakot and her craft. So Nakot has not returned to the planet. Nakot has stayed in orbit. I hope she's not hungry, because I'm not entirely sure how many snacks we put on the craft. Anyway, they're going to dock with Nakot, and Nakot's going to take them in their craft out to the moon, where she can sit and leave them there. She is pretty much a taxi driver that's getting paid too much, I think, probably. So anyway, we set up our rendezvous. We're actually setting up the start of the rendezvous with our launch craft because it's got a lot of fuel on board. One thing that would actually be a good idea is to actually have stuck a docking port somewhere on this main craft, because there's a lot of fuel left in it. However, I've decided not to sort of do that at any point with this craft because, yeah, I don't feel as though that's its role. I think I quite like the idea of having specific fuel tankers, and we'll probably get into that. Plus also, you know, a craft this big with that tiny little docking port on it, when we get bigger docking ports, we will look into it, I think. But we'll see. So anyway, so this craft's going to do the sort of, at least the rendezvous component, because it has the fuel, and this is definitely not the most efficient. If you were counting total fuel use, I am using far too much fuel doing this because it's a big craft that doesn't need to dock. It's not going to be docking, so it doesn't need to rendezvous. If I was around another planet and I was on limited fuel, it would not be doing this. However, this is basically it's going to return to Kerbin after this and be refueled, so it really doesn't matter. In fact, I want to use as much of its fuel instead of anything else. So if I could put these right on top of each other, I would, but that might be a little bit excessive. So having learned from the Minmus mission, we're not going to put any solar panels out while we're in the cargo bay, because that leads to crazy, obviously, and having to fix things. You will notice on this crew we haven't actually got a pilot though. We've got Scott and we got Matt. Scott's going along to do some science because he's now our explorer extraordinaire, and Matt's going along because well, we have a special set of kit that we've brought along, and he's going to go and set it up, but also because he's not been anywhere. I mean, he did a hop flight that wasn't even suborbital, I think 2 episodes ago, and as an engineer, you know, the guys are saying, you're building all this stuff, you're going to have to prove that it actually works, that you trust it, and this is very much his craft. The Munbus is his craft, and there you go, you can see there's the Munbus, and it actually has something else on the bottom of it. It actually has a little sort of cargo pod on the bottom that's got some science equipment in. But we didn't want to actually build it with that into the craft because, well, it would take up space and weight and things permanently. So it's actually detachable, and we're going to leave it on the surface. We're going to leave it on the surface as our little science lab. So there we go, we've switched over to the Munbus, and it's going to do the docking. And I must say, actually, the transport craft that Nakot's got in was designed to be balanced, and it never has been. It's got a lot of RCS, and it always has to counter its stuff. This little Munbus, when fully laden with fuel, is so beautifully balanced. It is absolutely stunning. I think it is one of the nicest docking craft. And you can see there, I'm actually just that is it docked. That was it, easy as pie. And so yeah, there we go. We disable its engines, and we're pretty much ready to go. You know, we've got to deorbit our delivery craft. We just prep it. You can see there we've got landing legs. Put the solar panels out. It's actually like a little mini space station, isn't it? So we'll take our delivery craft and jump them back through the atmosphere. And I'm not going to force you to watch every single second of this one because it's boring. It's boring. It's actually boring, isn't it? But they're going to go down. Now, interesting little thought for you. We now have Scott, we have Matt, and we have Nakot in orbit, which means the only Kerbal that's not going to the moon is Sean. I'm not entirely sure how he's going to feel about that, and I'm not entirely sure what his next mission is going to be, because I in my head have planned out the next few steps, and he doesn't fulfill the roles required for quite a few of them. So to run through it, we're going to have to land on the moon, which he could have done. He's not doing. We're going to have to then do some sort of surveying of the moon, which he is not qualified to do. He is a pilot. And then we're probably going to have to do some resource gathering and things like that. And he, again, is not going to be used for that. So I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, while that was landing, you know, Nakot's engaged the nuclear engine and is not burning, repulsing, pushing, ejecting matter out the back end in opposing direction to where she wants to travel at high speed with lots of energy. She's energizing. There we go. She's energizing towards the moon. Yes. That's the phrase we should now use. She's energizing. All that sounds like Star Trek, so you don't know. Anyway, so yes, she's heading off to the moon with her cargo there, or cargo, her scientists and her engineers. Yeah, beautiful, almost perfect equatorial orbit there, which is lovely because you know, we want to be equatorial at the moment. It's easier for us for our dockings. It's easier for us for rendezvous, and yeah. I've decided that I want to actually look at the equatorial sort of region of the Mun, because whilst putting a, landing in the poles and stuff is useful, if we're actually going to use the Mun for resource gathering, it is just easier being equatorial. So that's where we're going to focus our attention, I think. So, oh, look at that. You can see it looks like a bit like the Death Star on there, isn't it? Another reference to movies and things like that. So she's going to come in, and we're going to capture burn and go straight into a circularization burn there, because we're not hanging about. This video is now in its 10th minute, and we've just got to the Mun. So that unless I make this video run on in the next 4 minutes, we're probably going to land. We're approaching 11 minutes now in the video, I think. And yeah, nuclear engine. I love it. I love this nuclear engine. I'm glad that I don't have any mods that actually make things break, because this thing's runtime right now must be an exceedingly long time, but it's done a lot. So this craft has now done a trip to Minmus and back, and to the Mun and back. It's been refueled, and this is not the end of its journey, because I'm going to take it back to Kerbin after this. So yeah. So we're now captured in orbit, and you can see I'm just checking all of the stuff, making sure that solar panels are ready, that docking ports are sorted out, and yeah, the sort of things you do before and then you realise you've forgotten something. So there's the Mun bus. We're just gonna leave it there. Nakot's going to position herself into the normal anti-normal orientation so she can get energy. She's actually checking Mun bus, and she's looking out the window. You can see put lights on, and she's checking there's nothing missing. After the incident around Minmus and the fact that there was possibly a solar panel left somewhere, but we don't need to talk about it. So yeah, so now to land on Mun, and this is a little harder than I say a little harder. It's a lot harder than landing on Minmus. Equally, it's hard because I don't have signal. So after setting up a communication system around Minmus and around Kerbin, the one that I'm landing on, the Mun, I don't have a control system on, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on. So I'm hoping that we can do a bit of orientation. We've got some signal, we've got semi-control, but I can't do maneuver nodes, I can't do anything like that, so I'm limited. And then we're just firing our engines, which are very annoying actually, very whiny rocket engines. These are the little tiny, I think they're either the ants or the ones up from it, and I've got 4 of them, so they're even more noisy. And this is not the most efficient way to do it. I should have been burning basically consistently all the way down. I am not. So we come down, and yeah, this craft actually performed really well doing this. You can see Matt and Scott are they just relaxed. They're not doing anything. The computer's doing it. They're just like looking out the windows going, yep, it's nice. Oh, starting to worry a little bit now, are we, boys? And down we go. Oh, no, we just, yeah, we did a bit of a rabbit hop there. I'm not entirely sure why. Well, I am unsure why. I was slowing down too much at the end, and I didn't turn the engines off. So off we go. We're going to get out of the craft. We're going to do some science, and yeah, we're going to set everything up. So this craft is basically going to drop down a science research facility on the surface. Now, I don't have everything set up, so I may have to come back to this location in the future and add bits to it. I'm also aware of the gravity on the Mun being a little higher, so I was worried about dropping my guy down like that, but he seems to be okay. And he's going to have a walk around. So, oh, there we go. You can try do stuff. Yeah, wee. So Scott is now yet again the first Kerbal onto another planetary body. So he's now been the first Kerbal on Minmus, the first Kerbal on the Mun. The question will be he be the first Kerbal on another planet? That will be interesting to find out. So he's going to go for a little walk around and run around and stuff like that. He's got to put his flag down, and he's got to write down, all important messages for the future of Kerbin kind. And finally, Matt gets out. He's much more excitable, isn't he? Look at them; they look good, don't they? His job is going to be to set up all of that equipment. So you can see he's going to go and set the equipment up, and he'll probably get some support from Scott at some point. However, that is not going to be the end of our trip or journey with the Mun. We're going to get some science from this, but I think we have decided that our journey is going to be requiring fuel from the Mun. So if this base works out well, and we've now tested our technology and landed here, I think we're going to look at potentially mining. We've got quite a bit of science now, so in the future episodes we're going to try and gather even more science, and we're going to have to look at getting some ore and getting some mining done. So from me, until next time, have a great one.